Dr. Minho walked through the white corridors of the hospital ship Healing Dawn. His footsteps echoed softly as he checked on patients from 12 different species. The ship was huge, almost like a floating city in space. It had been his home for 3 years now. "Doctor, the Vilethek patient in room 47 is asking for you," said Nurse Jihan from behind the reception desk. She was young but skilled, and Minho trusted her completely. Minho nodded and headed to the room. Inside, a large lizard-like creature lay on a special bed. The Vilethek had been hurt in a border fight between his people and some pirates. His arm was badly damaged, but Minho's team had saved it. "How are you feeling today?" Minho asked in the universal language that most species understood. The Vilethek looked at him with golden eyes. "Better, human doctor. Your medicine is very good. My people will remember your kindness." Minho smiled. This was why he loved his job. The Healing Dawn was neutral territory. It didn't matter if you were human, Vilethek, or any other species. If you were hurt, they would help you. Down in the engineering section, Sora was working on something that could change everything. She was Minho's younger sister and the smartest person he knew. Her small hands moved quickly over complex machines as she built tiny robots called nanobots. "These little guys can fix almost any injury," she explained to her assistant Dongho. "They work on human cells, Vilethek scales, even the crystal beings from Sector 9. It's all about understanding how life works at the smallest level." Dongho watched in amazement as the nanobots moved like living things under the microscope. "This could save millions of lives across the galaxy." "That's the plan," Sora said with a grin. "No more watching people die because we don't understand their biology." The Healing Dawn flew slowly through space in the neutral zone between human and Vilethek territory. Captain Taehyun kept the ship on a peaceful path, always broadcasting their medical status to any ship that came near. "We have 3,000 patients on board," he reminded his crew every day. "Our only weapons are medical equipment. We depend on galactic law to protect us." In the communication room, Officer Jihan monitored all the radio signals in the area. She could speak 7 languages and knew the emergency codes for 15 different species. Her job was to make sure everyone knew they were a hospital ship. "Captain," she called over the intercom, "I'm picking up Vilethek military signals. Looks like a big fleet moving this way." Captain Taehyun wasn't worried. The Vilethek Empire was strict about following galactic law. Hospital ships were protected. Even in war, you didn't attack doctors and nurses. But far away on the Vilethek command ship, Admiral Thexkar was reading a very different report. His intelligence officer handed him a datapad with shaking hands. "Sir, our spies report that the human hospital ship is not what it seems. They say it's actually a weapons platform disguised as a medical vessel." Admiral Thexkar was known for making quick decisions. He had fought many battles and trusted his intelligence network. The report showed pictures of the Healing Dawn with arrows pointing to what looked like weapon systems. "Clever humans," he growled. "They think they can fool us with their tricks. Prepare the fleet for attack." "Sir, shouldn't we hail them first? Check their medical broadcasts?" asked his communications officer. "No time," Thexkar snapped. "If they really are hiding weapons, they'll use them the moment we get close. We strike first." Back on the Healing Dawn, Sora was showing her nanobots to a group of medical students. The tiny robots could repair nerve damage, regrow lost limbs, and even fix genetic problems. She had spent 5 years developing them. "The best part is they work on any species," she explained. "We don't need different medicines for different aliens anymore. These nanobots adapt to whatever life form they encounter." One student raised her hand. "Could these nanobots be used for other things, like weapons?" Sora looked shocked. "Why would anyone want to hurt people with medical technology? These are meant to save lives, not take them." In the children's ward, Dr. Minho was reading stories to young patients. There were human children, Vilethek hatchlings, and even some baby creatures that looked like floating jellies. All of them listened with wide eyes as he read about brave heroes and magical adventures. "Dr. Minho," whispered a small Vilethek girl. "Will I be able to go home soon?" "Very soon," he promised her. "Your scales are growing back beautifully." Suddenly, alarms began ringing throughout the ship. Captain Taehyun's voice came over the speakers. All medical staff to emergency stations. We have incoming ships. Jihan tried desperately to contact the approaching Veltec fleet. She broadcast on every frequency, using every language she knew. This is the hospital ship Healing Dawn. We are a medical vessel protected under galactic law. We have patients from many species on board, including Veltec civilians. Please respond. No answer came back. Healing Dawn. This is the Veltec fleet. We are neutral medical personnel. We have your people on board. Please respond. Still nothing. Admiral Thexkar watched the hospital ship on his main screen. It looked peaceful enough, but he had learned not to trust appearances. In his mind, he was saving his empire from a sneak attack. Fire all weapons, he commanded. Energy beams and missiles flew through space toward the Healing Dawn. The hospital ship had no shields, no weapons, no way to defend itself. Captain Taehyun could only watch as death approached his ship. All hands, brace for impact, he announced calmly. Minho grabbed the Veltec girl and held her close. Sora looked up from her nanobots, confusion in her eyes. Jihan kept broadcasting their medical status even as the first explosions shook the ship. The Healing Dawn broke apart in space. Pieces of the hospital ship scattered in all directions, carrying with them the hopes and dreams of everyone who had worked to save lives. 3,000 patients died instantly. Doctors, nurses, engineers, and researchers were gone in moments. In her final seconds, Sora thought about her nanobots. They could have healed so many people across the galaxy. Now they would never get the chance, Admiral. Thexkar watched the explosion with satisfaction. Threat eliminated. The humans will think twice before trying to trick us again. He never bothered to scan the wreckage for medical equipment. He never listened to the recordings of their desperate pleas. In his mind, he had won a great victory against human deception, but in a research station 3 days away, someone was about to learn what had really happened to the Healing Dawn. Someone who would make sure the Veltec Empire paid for every life they had taken. The age of mercy was ending. The age of consequences was about to begin. Kyung stared at the message on his computer screen for a long time. The words seemed impossible to believe. The Healing Dawn was gone. His research partner, Sora, was dead. All those people who had dedicated their lives to helping others were now floating debris in space. He read the message again, hoping he had misunderstood something, but the facts were clear. The Veltec Empire had destroyed a hospital ship without warning, without trying to communicate, without even checking if it was really a threat. Kyung was known throughout human space as a genius. He had designed faster engines, better computers, and communication systems that could reach across the galaxy. But right now he felt completely helpless. "I'm sorry about Sora," said a voice behind him. He turned to see Hana, his closest friend and one of the best intelligence officers in the human fleet. Her face was sad, but her eyes were angry. She was going to change everything, Kyung said quietly. Her nanobots could have saved millions of lives. Now they're gone forever. Hana sat down next to him. Maybe not forever. Did she share her research with you? Some of it, but Sora was the genius when it came to biology. I'm just good with machines and computers. Kyung's voice was flat, empty of emotion. The Veltec are celebrating, Hana said. Their news broadcasts are calling it a great victory. They claim they stopped a human sneak attack. Something cold settled in Kyung's chest. They killed doctors and nurses, patients who couldn't even walk, children, and they're celebrating. Hana pulled out a secure datapad. I've been gathering intelligence on the Veltec Empire for 2 years. Want to know what I've learned? Kyung looked at her with new interest. Hana had access to information that most people never saw. If anyone understood the enemy, it would be her. Their empire covers 47 star systems, she began. 200 billion people. Their military has the most advanced technology in the galaxy. Shields that can stop any weapon we have. Ships that are twice as fast as ours. So, we can't beat them in a regular war, Kyung said. Not even close. If humanity declared war on the Veltec Empire, we would lose in 6 months. Maybe less. Hana's words were hard but honest. Kyung stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the research station where he had spent the last 5 years of his life. He had been working on peaceful projects here: better medical scanners, faster computers for hospitals, ways to help people live better lives. "But you have an idea," Hana said. It wasn't a question. She knew Kyung well enough to see when his mind was working on a problem. "Their strength is their technology," Kyung said slowly. "Everything in their empire is connected. Ships talk to planets. Planets talk to other planets. Their whole civilization runs on computer networks. And? What if their technology became their weakness?" Hana frowned. "I don't understand." Kyung turned back to her, and she saw something in his eyes that hadn't been there before. A cold fire that made her want to step back. "I need to talk to Dong-ho," he said. Dong-ho was a quantum physicist who worked in the same research station. He was a quiet man who usually thought about very abstract problems that had nothing to do with war or politics. But when Kyung explained what he wanted to do, Dong-ho's eyes grew wide. "A quantum virus that spreads through computer networks," Dong-ho repeated. "Theoretically possible, but the complexity would be enormous." "Could it be done?" Kyung asked. "Maybe, but Kyung, something like that could cause damage far beyond what you're planning. Computer viruses spread. They mutate. They do things their creators never intended." "Good," Kyung said simply. Dong-ho stared at him. "You're talking about attacking an entire civilization's technology base. Billions of people could die if their life support systems fail. Billions of people, including doctors and patients, died when they destroyed the Healing Dawn," Kyung replied. "The Valtech chose total war when they murdered medical personnel. I'm just responding in kind." Over the next few weeks, more people joined Kyung's secret project. Hana brought intelligence about Valtech computer systems. Dong-ho worked on the quantum mechanics that would make the virus possible. Other researchers angry about the hospital ship offered their skills. Ji-won was a former prisoner who had escaped from Valtech labor camps. She knew their technology from the inside because she had been forced to work on their computer systems. "Everything is connected," she told Kyung. "Their ships, their planets, their space stations, they're very proud of their unified network. They think it makes them strong." "It does make them strong," Kyung admitted, "but it also makes them vulnerable." Tae-hyun, a master of infiltration, had already begun placing human agents throughout Valtech space. These agents had been there for years, pretending to be traders or refugees. Now they would have a new mission. "Getting our people into position will take months," Tae-hyun warned. "The Valtech are suspicious of aliens in their territory." "We have time," Kyung said. "I want this weapon to be perfect." Yoonji was the project's ethical officer. Her job was to ask difficult questions about what they were doing. She didn't like what she was hearing. "Kyung, you're talking about destroying an entire empire. Not just their military, but their whole civilization. How is that different from what they did to us?" Kyung looked at her with those cold eyes. "They attacked a hospital ship full of helpless people. We're going to attack their military and infrastructure. If civilians get hurt, that's unfortunate but not our primary goal." "But, you know, civilians will get hurt. Probably millions of them. Then the Valtech leadership should have thought about that before they decided to murder doctors." Yoonji tried a different approach. "What about the innocent people in their empire? The children who had nothing to do with attacking our hospital ship? What about the innocent children who died on the Healing Dawn?" Kyung shot back. "What about Sora's nanobots that could have saved alien children across the galaxy? The Valtech destroyed all of that without a second thought." As the weeks passed, Kyung's weapon began to take shape. He called it the Cascade Protocol. It was a quantum computer virus that would spread through any connected network, causing systems to malfunction in ways that made them impossible to repair. The beauty of it was its simplicity. The more advanced and connected a system was, the more damage the virus would cause. The Valtech's greatest strength would become their greatest weakness. Late at night, Kyung would work alone in his laboratory. Sometimes Hana would find him there, staring at his computer screens with an expression that worried her. "Are you sure about this?" she asked one night. "They could have hailed the hospital ship. Kyung said without looking up. They could have scanned it to see if it really had weapons. They could have checked the patient records that showed Vilethek civilians on board. Instead, they chose to shoot first and never ask questions. So you're going to destroy their entire empire. I'm going to show them what happens when you attack the people trying to heal the galaxy. Hana watched her friend work and wondered if they were creating something that would save humanity or damn it. But every time she thought about questioning him, she remembered the images from the healing dawn. Doctors and nurses floating dead in space, children who would never grow up, medical equipment that could have saved lives scattered among the wreckage. Maybe Kyung was right. Maybe some actions were so terrible that they demanded an equally terrible response. The Cascade Protocol was almost ready. 6 months had passed since the destruction of the healing dawn. Hidden deep inside a mountain on the human colony world Sigma-7, Kyung's secret laboratory had grown into something much larger. What started as one man's quest for revenge had become a carefully planned operation involving dozens of people. The laboratory looked like a mix between a research center and a military command post. Computer screens showed star maps of Vilethek space. Workbenches held pieces of captured alien technology. In the center of it all, Kyung worked on his Cascade Protocol like a master craftsman building the perfect weapon. The quantum virus is ready for field testing, Dongho announced during their morning meeting. We've run thousands of simulations, and the results are consistent. Once it enters a connected system, the cascade effect begins immediately. Jiwon, the former Vilethek prisoner, studied the test results with professional interest. Her time in their labor camps had taught her exactly how their technology worked. The Vilethek love efficiency, she explained. Every system talks to every other system. Their ships share data with space stations. Space stations share data with planets. It's all one big network, which means our virus will spread everywhere, added Taehyun, who had just returned from placing more agents in Vilethek territory. My people are in position on 15 different worlds. When you're ready to deploy this thing, we can hit their entire empire at once. Kyung nodded, but his attention was focused on a new piece of equipment that had arrived that morning. It was a Vilethek military computer core, captured during a border skirmish and brought here for testing. Let's see how well our weapon really works, he said. The team gathered around as Kyung connected the alien computer to their testing network. The Vilethek core was completely isolated, with no way to communicate with anything outside the laboratory. It was a perfect test subject. Releasing Cascade Protocol in 3, 2, 1, Dongho announced. For a moment, nothing happened. The Vilethek computer continued running normally, its displays showing standard operational data. Then small errors began to appear. A navigation system reported that the computer was somehow moving at impossible speeds. Life support sensors claimed the air was both breathable and toxic at the same time. The virus is making the system doubt its own sensors, Kyung explained. Watch what happens when it tries to fix itself. The computer's repair systems activated, trying to correct the false data. But the quantum virus had infected those systems, too. Instead of fixing the problems, the repairs created new ones. The navigation system began fighting with the life support system. Both systems called for help from other parts of the computer. Within minutes, the entire Vilethek core was in chaos. Systems were shutting down, restarting, and shutting down again. Error messages filled every screen. The computer was destroying itself, trying to fix problems that weren't really there. Beautiful, whispered Hana. It's like watching a master pianist play their greatest piece. Jiwon was less impressed. This isn't just going to disable their military systems. This will affect everything. Power plants, water treatment facilities, hospitals, schools. Anything with a computer will be infected. Yoonji, the ethical officer, spoke up. We need to talk about the scope of this weapon. Kyung, you're not just targeting the Vilethek military anymore. You're targeting their entire civilization. Kyung disconnected the ruined computer core and turned to face the group. His eyes had grown colder over the past months, and his voice carried an authority that made even experienced officers listen carefully. The Vilethek Empire made their choice when they destroyed a hospital ship. They didn't target our military. They targeted our healers, our researchers, our patients. They attacked the very idea that some things should be protected in war. But civilian casualties, Yunji began, will be regrettable, but necessary, Kyung finished. Every day, the Viletech Empire exists. They're a threat to every hospital ship, every medical station, every healer in the galaxy. I'm not just avenging the healing dawn. I'm making sure this never happens again. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what Kyung was really saying. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about sending a message to every species in the galaxy. Attack human medical personnel, and we will end your civilization. Over the following weeks, the team refined their weapon and prepared for deployment. Taehyun's infiltration specialists had identified the perfect target, the Viletech frontier system called Kethmar. It was heavily defended and served as the command center for their border operations. If we can take down Kethmar, it will prove the weapon works on their most advanced systems, Taehyun explained. Plus, it's the system that launched the attack on the Healing Dawn. There's poetic justice in starting there. Salmon, a captain in Human Special Forces, had volunteered to lead the actual deployment mission. She was young, but had proven herself in several dangerous operations behind enemy lines. More importantly, she understood the stakes. My brother was a nurse on the Healing Dawn, she told Kyung during their planning session. I want to be the one who makes them pay. Jinwoo, the team's best computer specialist, had designed the delivery system. The Cascade protocol would be loaded onto a small device that looked like a standard data storage unit. Once connected to any Viletech computer, it would begin spreading through their networks. The beauty is that it looks completely innocent, Jinwoo explained. Just a routine data transfer. By the time they realize what's happening, it will be too late to stop. As the mission date approached, Kyung found himself working longer hours and sleeping less. He would stand in front of star maps of Viletech space, thinking about the millions of people who lived there. Most of them had nothing to do with the attack on the hospital ship. They were just ordinary citizens trying to live their lives. Having second thoughts? Hana asked one night, finding him alone in the laboratory. No, Kyung replied immediately. But I'm thinking about what comes after. Once we deploy this weapon, there's no taking it back. The Viletech Empire will fall. Billions of people will lose everything they've built. And you're okay with that? Kyung turned to look at her. Sora believed that all life was precious. She spent her life creating things that could heal anyone, regardless of species. The Viletech killed her for that belief. So you're going to honor her memory by killing billions of aliens? I'm going to honor her memory by making sure no one ever again thinks it's acceptable to murder healers. The conversation was interrupted by Taehyun's voice over the intercom. Kyung, we need you in the command center. Soman's team has reached the insertion point. The deployment was about to begin. In a few hours, the Cascade protocol would be released into Viletech space. There would be no turning back after that. As Kyung walked to the command center, he thought about the last message he had received from Sora, sent just days before the Healing Dawn was destroyed. She had been excited about her nanobots, talking about all the lives they would save. She had ended the message with her usual phrase, "Let's make the galaxy a better place." Soon, Kyung thought, the galaxy would understand that some prices were too high to pay. The Viletech had chosen to attack Mercy itself. Now they would learn what happened when Mercy died. The war for the future of galactic civilization was about to begin. Captain Soman floated in the darkness of space, watching the lights of Kethmar Station through her helmet visor. The massive Viletech military base looked like a small city, with ships coming and going like busy insects around a hive. She could see defensive platforms, weapons arrays, and communication towers that connected this system to the rest of the Viletech Empire. Target confirmed, she whispered into her radio. Kethmar Station is fully operational. Defense systems are active. From the hidden human observation post 3 light hours away, Hyunjin monitored the mission. His job was to watch and record everything that happened. The galaxy needed to see what the Cascade protocol could do. Remember, you have one chance, came Kyung's voice through the encrypted channel. Once you connect the device, the virus will begin spreading immediately. You'll have maybe 10 minutes before their systems start failing. Soman checked her equipment one more time. The delivery device looked exactly like a standard BlazeHFY data storage unit. Jinwoo had spent weeks making it perfect. Even if someone examined it closely, they would find nothing suspicious. Her team of 5 moved carefully through the debris field that surrounded HFY Station. Old wreckage from border conflicts provided perfect cover for their approach. The BlazeHFY sensors couldn't tell the difference between human infiltrators and floating metal scraps. "I still can't believe we're really doing this," whispered Specialist Min Seok over the team channel. "We're about to attack an entire star system." "They attacked our hospital ship," Somin replied coldly. "This is justice." The team had trained for months to infiltrate BlazeHFY systems. They wore stolen enemy uniforms and carried forged identification. To any scanner, they would look like maintenance workers doing routine repairs. "Entry point located," reported Sergeant Dongyun. "Maintenance airlock on Section 7. Minimal security." They slipped inside the station like ghosts. The corridors were filled with busy BlazeHFY personnel, but no one paid attention to a small maintenance crew. Someone's heart raced as they walked past armed guards who could have killed them all in seconds. The data center was exactly where their intelligence said it would be. Rows of computer cores hummed quietly, processing information from across BlazeHFY space. This was the heart of their Frontier Command network. "Guard patrol in 5 minutes," warned Corporal Yeji, who was watching the entrance. Soman approached the main data hub. Her hands moved quickly, connecting Jinwoo's device to the central processing unit. The Cascade protocol was now inside the BlazeHFY network. "Package delivered," she reported. "Beginning extraction." But as they tried to leave, alarms suddenly began ringing throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors. BlazeHFY. Voices shouted orders in their harsh language. "What's happening?" Soman demanded. "Did they detect us?" "Negative," came Hyunjin's voice from the observation post. "The alarms aren't about you. Something else is wrong." On the command deck of HFY Station, Admiral Thexakar was experiencing the first effects of the Cascade Protocol. The same officer who had destroyed the Healing Dawn was about to discover what human revenge looked like. "Sir, we're getting strange readings from multiple systems," reported his chief technician. "Navigation is showing impossible coordinates. Life support is reporting contradictory atmospheric data." Thexakar frowned. "Run diagnostics on all systems." "Already tried, sir. The diagnostic programs are reporting errors in themselves." This was when the cascade truly began. As the BlazeHFY tried to fix their computer problems, the quantum virus spread deeper into their network. Each repair attempt created new failures. Each system that tried to help made things worse. "Communication array is offline," called another technician. "No, wait, it's online but not receiving anything. Now it says it's receiving everything at once." Salmon's team watched in amazement as chaos spread through the station. Emergency lights flickered on and off. Blast doors opened and closed randomly. The artificial gravity fluctuated, making everyone stumble. "The virus is working faster than we expected." Jinwoo's excited voice came through their radios. "Their systems are more interconnected than we thought. In the docking bays, BlazeHFY pilots were trying to launch their fighters, but the ship's computers couldn't agree on basic things like which way was up. Some fighters thought they were underwater. Others believed they were flying through solid rock. The pilots couldn't override systems that had become completely irrational. Defensive platforms are targeting each other, reported Corporal Yeji with disbelief. They think every other platform is an enemy ship. The massive weapons that protected HFY Station began firing at each other. Energy beams and missiles flew in all directions as the defense network turned on itself. The BlazeHFY couldn't shut down the weapons because the shutdown systems were infected too. Admiral Thexakar stood on his command deck, watching his entire operation fall apart. "What is causing this? Are we under attack?" "Unknown, sir. All our sensors are giving conflicting information. Some say we're being invaded by a massive fleet. Others say there are no enemy ships at all. Send a message to Fleet Command. Request immediate assistance." "I can't, sir. The communication system thinks it's already sent 1,000 messages, but also thinks it has never sent any messages." Summons. Team used the confusion to escape. With all the station systems failing, no one was paying attention to 5 maintenance workers. They made their way back to the airlock and slipped out into space. Extraction complete, Somin reported. All team members accounted for. From the observation post, Hyunjin watched the results of the Cascade Protocol with professional fascination and growing horror. The virus was spreading beyond Kethmar Station to every connected system in the region. It's jumping to the patrol ships, he reported. Now it's reaching the mining facilities on the 3rd planet. The communication relays are carrying it to other star systems. Space around Kethmar became a battlefield where the Vilethek fought only themselves. Ships fired on their own bases. Defensive platforms destroyed cargo vessels. The computer virus had turned their entire military into enemies of each other. The cascade effect is accelerating, Jinwoo observed from his monitoring station. Every time they try to restore communication with a new system, they spread the virus there too. Admiral Thexkar's last coherent order was to abandon the station, but even the evacuation systems were infected. Escape pods launched in random directions. Some never launched at all. Others launched empty while their intended passengers were still trying to board. Sir, life support is failing on decks 15 through 30, reported what was left of his crew. Environmental controls think the air is poison. Override the environmental controls. The override system thinks it's already been overridden, but also thinks it's never been used. As Somin's team reached their extraction point, they looked back at Kethmar Station. The massive military base was tearing itself apart. Explosions lit up the darkness as critical systems failed. Ships drifted helplessly, their crews trapped inside vessels that no longer obeyed any commands. Is this what you wanted? Somin asked quietly, speaking to Kyung across the vast distance between systems. It's exactly what they deserve, came the cold reply. They showed no mercy to our hospital ship. We'll show no mercy to their empire. The Cascade Protocol had proven itself. The most heavily defended system in Vilethek space had fallen without a single human weapon being fired. Their own technology had become their destroyer. But this was only the beginning. The virus was now spreading through Vilethek communication networks, jumping from system to system like a plague. Soon the entire empire would experience what Kethmar had suffered. Admiral Thexkar, the destroyer of the Healing Dawn, died when his command ship's life support system decided that breathing was an enemy activity. His last thought was confusion about how his perfect military machine had turned against itself. He never understood that he had awakened something in humanity that valued mercy above all else. And when mercy was murdered, vengeance took its place with a precision that no empire could survive. 3 weeks after the fall of Kethmar Station, the Cascade Protocol had spread far beyond Kyung's original projections. What began as an attack on one military system had become the systematic collapse of the greatest empire in galactic history. In the Human Observation Center, Wu Jin stared at the tactical display with a mixture of awe and growing unease. Red markers showed Vilethek systems that had suffered total technological failure. Yellow markers indicated systems experiencing partial collapse. Green markers, representing fully functional Vilethek territory, were becoming increasingly rare. 23. Star systems have gone completely dark, he reported to the assembled team. No communications, no space traffic, no energy signatures from major cities. It's like they've reverted to pre-industrial technology levels. Kyung studied the display without emotion. The virus is performing exactly as designed. Their hyper-connected empire is becoming its own weakness. But look at the spread pattern, Wu Jin insisted. It's not just hitting military targets anymore. The virus is infecting civilian networks, power grids, water treatment plants, medical facilities. Entire planets are losing basic infrastructure. Nari, who had been appointed as humanity's emergency ambassador to handle the crisis, entered the room carrying a stack of desperate messages. Her face was pale, and her hands shook slightly as she spoke. The Vilethek government is trying to surrender, she announced. I've received formal communications from 12 different planetary governors, 3 sector admirals and what's left of their central command. They're begging us to stop the virus. Begging, Kyung repeated with satisfaction. Did they accept? Any pleas for mercy from the healing dawn? Kyung, you need to see these messages, Nari insisted. They're not from military commanders anymore. They're from civilian leaders, medical personnel, teachers, parents, people who had nothing to do with attacking your sister's ship. She activated a holographic display showing intercepted Viltech communications. The first message was from a planetary governor whose voice carried desperation. To the human leadership, the translation read, "Our children are dying. Our hospitals have no power. Our water treatment plants have failed. We surrender completely. Please just tell us how to stop this plague that is destroying our technology." Another message came from a Viltech doctor. "I was trained on one of your human medical stations. I learned to save lives regardless of species. Now my equipment won't work. My patients are dying from treatable conditions. I'm begging you, remember? Your own medical oath." Kyung's expression didn't change as he listened to the pleas. They should have thought about medical oaths before they murdered 3,000 patients. Dongho, the quantum physicist who had helped create the virus, looked increasingly uncomfortable. "Kyung, we need to discuss containment protocols. The Cascade protocol is mutating as it spreads. It's becoming more aggressive than we intended." "Explain," Kyung demanded. "The virus was designed to spread through connected networks and cause system failures. But it's learning from each system it infects. It's becoming better at finding new ways to cause damage. Some of the failures we're seeing now are completely different from our original design." Hana studied the technical reports. "You're saying the weapon is evolving?" "Exactly. And it's spreading to systems that shouldn't have been connected to Viltech networks. Trade ships, diplomatic stations, even some neutral colonies that just happen to exchange data with infected systems." Sunho, Kyung's former mentor, had been silent during most of these briefings. But now he spoke up with the authority of someone who had known Kyung since he was a student. "This has gone far enough," he said quietly. "You've proven your point. The Viltech Empire is finished. Their military is destroyed. Their government is begging for mercy. It's time to stop." Kyung turned to face his old teacher. "Stop? Why would I stop? The virus is working perfectly. Because you're not attacking the Viltech Empire anymore. You're committing genocide against an entire species." The word hung in the air like a physical presence. Everyone in the room felt its weight. "They started this," Kyung replied, but for the first time, his voice carried a hint of uncertainty. "And you're finishing it," Sunho shot back. "But you're finishing more than they started. You're ending their entire civilization. Every hospital, every school, every home that depends on technology. Billions of innocent people are suffering for the crimes of their military." Minji, who had been working in the ruins of former Viltech space, appeared on the communication screen. She looked exhausted and haunted by what she had seen. "I'm on the planet Vorthkar," she reported. It was a major Viltech colony world, with 50 million inhabitants. The Cascade hit them 4 days ago. She turned her camera to show the scene behind her. It looked like the aftermath of a natural disaster. Buildings stood intact, but nothing technological worked. Streets were filled with confused aliens who couldn't understand why their entire civilization had suddenly stopped functioning. The power plants are offline. The water pumps have failed. Food distribution networks are down. People are starting to die from thirst and hunger, not from weapons. "How many casualties?" Nari asked quietly. "Conservative estimate? If we can't restore their basic infrastructure soon, we're looking at 20% mortality within the first month. That's 10 million people on this planet alone." Kyung studied the images from Vorthkar. He saw Viltech families huddled together, trying to start fires for warmth. Children crying because the food dispensers in their homes no longer worked. Elderly aliens who depended on medical devices that had become useless metal. "They look just like the human refugees after the Proxima incident," Hana observed. "Remember those pictures? Families who had lost everything just trying to survive." "The difference is that the Proxima incident was an accident," Kyung said. "This is justice, is it?" Sunho challenged. "Justice for who? That little Viltech Girl who's going to starve because the food distribution system failed? Justice for the doctors who can't treat patients because their equipment is infected? Justice for the millions of people who never even heard of the healing dawn? Kyung's hands clenched into fists. Sora would still be alive if their empire hadn't decided to murder medical personnel. Every person who dies because of the cascade is a casualty of their choice to attack healers. Sora spent her life creating nanobots that could heal anyone, regardless of species, Sunho replied. Do you really think she would want her death to be the excuse for this level of destruction? For the first time since beginning the project, Kyung hesitated. He thought about his sister's last message, about her excitement over helping people across the galaxy. She had never shown hatred for any species, not even the ones that fought with humanity. Sir, Wu Jin interrupted, we're receiving new reports. The cascade has reached the Vialtech capital system. Their central government has completely collapsed. There's no one left with the authority to formally surrender. Good, Kyung said, but the words sounded hollow. There's more. Refugee ships are fleeing Vialtech space by the millions. They're heading for neutral systems, human colonies, anywhere they think might be safe. Most of these refugees are civilians who lost everything when their planet's infrastructure failed. Nari pulled up displays showing the refugee crisis. Massive. Ships packed with displaced aliens were begging for permission to land at human colonies. Many of these ships were barely functional, their own systems infected by variants of the Cascade Protocol. They're calling us their saviors and their destroyers at the same time, she reported. Some are grateful that we're accepting refugees. Others blame us for creating the crisis in the first place. The galactic community is watching, added Yujin, who monitored interstellar communications. Every species in the galaxy now knows that humanity has the power to destroy entire civilizations without firing a shot. They're all asking the same question. Are we next? Kyung looked around the room at his team. These people had followed him because they believed in justice for the healing dawn. But now he could see doubt in their eyes. They had wanted revenge against the Vialtech military, not the collapse of an entire species. The weapon worked, he said finally. The Vialtech Empire is finished. They'll never again think it's acceptable to attack medical personnel. Neither will anyone else, Hana replied quietly. But not because they respect medical neutrality, because they're terrified of what humanity will do if they anger us. Outside the observation center, the stars looked the same as they always had, but Kyung knew that something fundamental had changed in the galaxy. Humanity had become something new, something that other species would fear and respect in equal measure. The question now was whether that was what they had wanted to become.